Senator McAdams for summation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Everybody's had a chance to speak, and I think I'd like to take my opportunity now. Senate Bill 148 would enact protections against discrimination in housing and employment based on sexual orientation and gender identity, similar to protections adopted first by Salt Lake City and now by 10 other cities in Utah. This bill is necessary for several reasons. Firstly, because discrimination exists in Utah, as studies have shown, and I'm happy to provide that data. And that data was provided at the beginning of this session. I believe most Utahns are respectful and welcoming of others. Yet there are those who will fire or evict a person because of their orientation. Secondly, while Utah is a warm and welcoming community, that is not how we are perceived nationally. Frequently, businesses and employers looking to locate in Utah ask if their employees and families will be treated well in our state. Now, we know they will. And when we are asked by these businesses, we are able to demonstrate the great community and lifestyle Utah offers. Undoubtedly, however, many businesses never ask and simply look to locate their job-creating enterprises in another state. The symbolism of this bill goes beyond the protections it offers in housing and employment. And allow me to take the liberty to adapt to our Utah circumstances comments made by Harvey Milk. Somewhere in Emory or St. George, there is a young gay person who fears that if their landlord finds out, they might be tossed out of their apartment. Their employer may fire them, and their neighbors and family might turn their backs on them. And that person has several options. They can stay in the shadows and hide, or they can leave the fellowship of loving family, friends, and childhood mentors for a community that will respect them. And then one day, that individual might open up the paper and read that the LDS Church has endorsed Salt Lake City's non-discrimination ordinances, or the Utah legislature adopts anti-discrimination protections. And they realize there is another option. They can stay at their home in Provo or St. George. They can reach out to parents and loved ones for understanding and support and be accepted by their childhood community. On the day that the Salt Lake City ordinances were adopted, I got a phone call from a friend of mine who is gay that my wife and I know very well. This friend had lunch scheduled with his brother on that day. Knowing that I had been integrally involved with the crafting of the Salt Lake City ordinances, he related to me that the topic of the ordinances came up in his lunchtime conversation. Tearfully, he explained that the event of the passage of these ordinances was the impetus for a conversation with his brother several decades in the making. Since the passage of the Salt Lake City ordinances in November of 2009, healing conversations have taken place in city council chambers throughout Utah. 10 cities have followed Salt Lake City in passing these protections. Healing conversations have taken place around the dinner table, at family reunions, and among neighbors and friends. This conversation now comes to this Senate chamber in the People's House. Some of you may worry that of the controversy and hateful emails that may ensue if this conversation goes forward. You may prefer to sweep this under the rug or hope it'll go away. And I can't promise that you won't receive hateful emails and phone calls. Some of you, unfortunately, already have. But I believe the dialogue will be respectful and it will be constructive. It can be a healing dialogue. I refuse to accept that religious liberty is incompatible with protections for gay and transgender Utahns in their homes and at their jobs. Utah can pioneer legislation that balances respect and protections against discrimination with the robust religious liberties we value dearly. I believe my bill, reflective of the protections passed by Salt Lake City and 10 other Utah cities, strikes this balance, and it is fair and reasonable. I'm willing to listen to ideas, to criticism, and make adaptations to achieve a better balance if new ideas come forward. We can't find this balance unless we are willing to open our doors to a public discussion. My constituents have bestowed their trust in me to begin this dialogue, and I ask for my colleagues in the Senate to give me a similar measure of trust. This legislation is important because discrimination is real, but it is also important so the person in Bountiful or Provo, in Emory or St. George, and the thousands upon thousands like them know that there is hope for a better world, there's hope for a better tomorrow, and we have got to give them hope. I ask for your support to start this healing dialogue and send this bill to committee for a public hearing.